work. Hey Libra. Happy mid-May. The last reading too, right? There's something about how I want you to just absorb the sounds. The lighting. Your surroundings, okay? It's important. It'll help center you. Okay? Now, the first message I received was, so that decision that you made, that's your story and you're sticking to it, right? I had this kind of epiphany the other day where I went back and I was, because sometimes I'll go back and just reference and see how far you all have come, right? Like, what were we dealing with 6 months ago, because we forget, right? And now we're here. Now, sometimes when that happens, you can see how now is playing out what was spoke about then. What was presented then. And the message I heard was something about that, where you're having like an epiphany about how there was an uncomfortable like situation when you were a kid, like a 10, 11, 12, something shifted, and like you just wanted to have your own independence, you know? But because of that, because you were kind of forced to do some sort of action, it made you become stuck in some sort of independence in the way that you want independence now, not realizing that you're an adult and your mom isn't just going to yell at you to go do something. You're not a kid anymore. They're just running to run. You know, if adults do that, we think somebody robbed somebody. You know, what a difference between the child and the adult. Now, could the adult do more of the childlike things? Yes, indeed. But that child shouldn't be in charge of the adult, okay? Because part of the epiphany that I had too was like, about you, was about, like, even when other tarot readers are like, oh, you're dealing with a manipulator, it's like, I think that because you're a Libra and sometimes you'll relate things to other people, or a lot of people do, right? We're seeking outside of ourselves, but this is deep, Libra. I haven't even turned over your cards yet. Like, it's where you are the manipulator, but like of your own mind. Like, your mind is a manipulator of you. Your emotions are a manipulator of you. And those go back to habitual things that aren't even yours, okay? Let's see what you got for cards. Present position is so much independence. Wow. Holy smokes. Wow, Libra. You have 2 kings. You You have the Hermit in the World as your 2 major arcana. I feel like subconsciously you're figuring out this month, this is what this expresses, what I was talking about, where you have this epiphany where you're like, yo, I don't even know why I'm making decisions from this standpoint. Now, I'm not saying that whatever decision that you're making and you're sticking with, I do think that that's part of the lesson too, is you making a decision and sticking with it. Not being like, it's about being this dude, not being this dude. Because again, if you're this guy and you renege and you take back your stance, your judgment call, your verdict, your conclusion of the situation, ultimately, then people will see you as a liar. Okay? You're allowed to change your mind, but not 5 minutes later, not next week, not when we're talking about like big situations. Okay? And I do see that home, upbringing, Saturn in your 4th house is your challenge. Okay? But that's okay, because you're facing the challenge, okay? And you know what? I just went back to that reading. I mentioned this before, but that inner circle, outer circle, I believe it was the outer circle for you, Libra. It had this king, both these kings in that reading, okay? I'll put it down below, but please find it, even if I, for some reason, forget. Okay? Do your own research. Be proactive. That's how you find things out. Okay? If not everything is going to come knocking at your door, all the things that you want. Okay, you have to go out and knock on the door. Or rather, you have to, even if it did, you have to get up and answer the door. You know, something about that, something about the door. So what it is, I'll give you a recap. It's basically where I think both of them were in the reverse too, but it's like there's these natural tendencies that are not natural to you. Okay? They're reactionary tendencies. And that goes back to, like, when this guy is in the reverse, that's basically, he's an asshole. He's like, when I said, you know, your strength is the devil, what can you do? You know, so it's about you examining those parts of you, and I see in a way that consciously you know that you've been ignoring some of that, okay? And it's good that you're finally being introspective to it, because that's the only way that you solve it, so that you can receive this. Okay? And the only way that you could resolve that and receive that and even view that from that perspective is when you, well, I heard get off your high horse, but it's the high horse of fear, okay? I just saw a horse with like 20-foot legs and they were really skinny, and then it was just like a regular horse at the top, and you're just up there like, you know, it wasn't a fun place. There wasn't anybody else there. It was like, yeah, I have this high perspective, but obviously it's not really, in some sort of way, that one particular sort of perspective is no longer necessary. It's limiting you and puts you in a position of sometimes being subconsciously putting yourself in like a mental prison. And you don't have to do that at all. Okay? Because this deck of cards, actually, I use these for Scorpio also, is the first deck of cards I ever received. Now, as a side note, I feel the need to tell you, I learned tarot when I was living in the back of my friend Allie's pickup truck, because my car was too little, so we traded, and she watched my dog so I could keep my job, because the tower moment came and I lost my home. I lost everything, in a way. Almost everything. You know, that made up my stability. Okay? But it really put me in a position of examining a whole bunch of stuff that needed to be examined. Now, so I would go to class in the morning, and then I would go to work at night. And then I usually had a few hours of daylight, and then I would go to bed when the sun sets, because that's what happens when you don't have electricity. Your body naturally becomes more in tune with nature because you're not nocturnal, right? And one day I just ended up with this deck, and I just started teaching myself, and I didn't stop, and I haven't stopped. And it's something that has brought me great joy and great expanse and connection. I mean, thank you, all of you existing and being here. How miraculous is that? All the people that I've met, literally some physically, even met through this device, like using the tool appropriately, okay? And I see that Saturn being in your 4th house is a wonderful tool for you to examine how it is that you block yourself. Particularly those who are single. Okay? Because in addition to this, and the story I just told you, this deck actually, I recently went through all my decks, and I found out that this is missing the Queen of Swords. She left. So for you in Scorpio, there's kind of, or whoever I use this for, there's a message about the way that you've always thought about something. Not that you haven't always been open-minded, but there's a particular sort of like internal, the Queen's about the internal, like an internal way that you always process something, and therefore changed your energy in your body, right? Because it causes momentum. There's a need for a change within that, and I also see that there will be a change within that. And I also sense that you know that, because technically, in a way, that's your card. Although it is Aquarius, technically, and that's Uranus, okay? And Uranus is in your 8th house, Scorpio's house. You actually just came after them. So they obviously, I would say, as Uranus will be in that house, it would be wise for you to watch Scorpio, regardless of whether it's strong in your chart or not. It will help you to figure out what Uranus is kind of doing. Okay? That'll be like an indicator. That's another tool. Because in the future, you have the world. Cycle completed. Now, could this express that there's a possibility that you could figure this out by June 1st? Something in some way, yes, will be successful and completed June 1st. End of May, whatever. But the cycle of the internal world, and it goes back to that outer circle reading and your complete utter trust of love, of the expression of love. And I heard the word mother again, but like, which also rules this house, right? That will take a bit longer because it's, well, you have the Hermit, and then you have to go from the Hermit all the way to the world. Okay? But I see that it will be in your favor. Okay? But with that process also, you have to get this King to completely turn around and have a conversation with the Hermit so that you can stop just thinking about it and actually take action on it. Okay, and that's also consciously what you'll be doing, is sort of taking action on something even though you haven't completely analyzed the situation, but you're trying it out. It's kind of like, all right, maybe you've never really gardened before, but this year you bought a pack of carrot seeds. And trust me, they'll grow and they're going to be the most delicious thing ever. But really, it's like, well, I know about soil. I know that I need to buy a pot. I know that I need the seeds. I know that I can read the instructions, right? There's some sort of understanding to where it is that you're supposed to go, where it is that you're going, and how it is to actually get there. Now, every single detail of how this process is going to ultimately come to fruition, I see that you don't know yet because you haven't gardened before, right? But I sense with the world that you'll suss it out. As long as you keep working on opening your heart, on being brave in the process and knowing that you can do it. If you've ever met a Leo, or wherever Leo is in your chart, they're a hard worker. They really are. Even if they party all the time and do whatever this and that and the other thing, doesn't matter. They get it done. You know? Because when you're a lion or a lioness and you're going to go hunting for your family or protect your family, right? Get the thing that you ultimately need, because no animal in the animal kingdom or insect kingdom or whatever does anything unless they actually need it. Okay? They don't do things because they want it. They do things because they need it, and when they do that, they have to be determined. Okay? They have to be distinctive. And that maybe goes back to those kind of decisions too. Like, if you recognize this about yourself and you're like, I am this, yeah, the decision is that I want to fix this. Well, then continue to fix it. But you have to remember to have fun too. Okay? Because sometimes you can be serious. All the air signs are masculine. They're serious. Okay? There's not really any feminine here besides this. So, for those of you who have, it doesn't matter male or female, I always see this as homegirls. You know, like women you connect with that are positive, that make you feel good, that you can kind of keep it a little more lighthearted in a sense. I mean, it could be friends overall, but I just sense there's something strong about femininity. Okay, all these males are around here. This is also feminine, actually, and so is this. So, in truth, you have 4 feminine and you have 4 masculine. But I see you communicate as a masculine more through your masculine side. But you actually are a lot more balanced than you think that you are, but that's because this is in the future, this is what you need to learn, this is the undercurrent, this is the present situation. So this is a progression. This is just here. So also give yourself credit for that. And understand that your inner child also needs that femininity, that kind of encouragement too. Like that sort of fun. Okay? Like going around on the merry-go-round, you know? Knowing, like, believing that magic is real. That you could live in the tree as long as you go underneath that weird creepy guy's porch and get the mothball and then put it, you know, dig 3 holes at midnight on the full moon and then the portal will open up. Let's choose, what do we have for time? 1924, huh? That was a long time ago. I just heard Uranus again. They were 1934. I think it was in Taurus, but Libra. Hold on. No. But watching Scorpio will help. There's the mother of wind, or the Queen of Swords, and I actually see this 8 here also, which is the infinity symbol for the strength card, right? It's the infinity symbol that the Magician has. In between those, is the Chariot, so wherever it is that you're going, you'll be fine. It's interesting that the Queen of Swords wasn't in that other deck, but I pulled it in this one. So, really, that new way of thinking, that new comprehension within your mind is so crucial to knowing your own inner power. Okay? And I see that Uranus and Scorpio really is going to teach you a lot about that. About your intimacy, even with yourself. Okay? About digging in that soil, but not being afraid to get your hands dirty. Okay? It'll help you move along so that you can become this queen. And you know what? There's this one reader that I really like. She doesn't really post all the time. Saint Yaya. She's cool. So I watched all of hers just to see, so I could like cross-reference, because I just found her reading enlightening, so we can help each other, because that's the point, right? And the Libra one, for some reason, that just came up, and it has like where you become the Queen of Wands this year. Okay, it's the yearly reading. There's Cancer again. There's the Magician below that. Sorry for that sound. They have to tighten the screw on their belts. I just found out you can do that yourself. It's pretty easy. I feel like I want to pick one more for you. There's another 4. The Flood is what it's called in here. 4 of Cups. You don't gotta keep it perfect, Libra. You know? Like, yeah, that car's squealing, but so what? There's nothing really wrong with it. It just needs the belt. Sometimes all it does, why it does that when a belt squeaks like that, is because there's a little bit of lag. There's like time in between that it needs to catch up. Okay? And I see that your feelings are kind of catching up. Or you're catching up with your feelings. You know, because I think that's what it is too, is that your feelings get away from you. Because your mind gets away from you, and then it's like water and air pushing the river along, and it's like you don't realize that you are stable, another 4, okay? And that you can open your heart, that you do have the ability to, all the 4s too are ruled by the Emperor, your opposite Aries. It's like, this is all teaching you to know who you are. And to not be ashamed or afraid or whatever about what anybody thinks about any of you. Your passion, your inspiration, your creation, your magical abilities, your sassiness. Because it's cool when a Libra gets sassy. When a Libra gets sappy, it's so sad because you never let it out. But sassy, fuck it. Yeah. Hi, baby. Hi. Alright, I guess Sumi's saying bye. Let's see what this one is. Our biggest strength is our biggest challenge, okay? Our biggest challenge is our biggest strength. The power of your mind, like where it goes when you don't want it to go, wherever it goes, like it's like that channel just opens up and then it's, again, the river. You're like, what, where, I don't even understand. You are an air sign, you can control that. I like that power is just right there. Like, you can turn it into your shield. Okay? It doesn't have to, you don't have to let it hurt you. You can use it to your to your ability. That's also what Saturn's teaching you there, is like, and what Uranus will be teaching you in the 8th house is like, how do you handle yourself? How do you handle when you're working together with other people? Especially when you're a really independent person. Okay, and you want everything to be fair and perfect. What did I say in another reading? Will it be perfect for Libra? This one wanted to come out. Look at that. Queen of Swords again. It really is about learning your own power. Like, and really being in control of your own mind. Your own self. You, this vessel, you. Being in control of you. Cool. High Priestess in the Karma card, that's Libra right there. There's another 8. I like that they both have checkered floors too. Didn't I say that too in that Uranus reading? It's like black and white. It's yes or no, Libra. You don't have to play the gray game. You don't. And you know what? Because you know what the gray game is? It's where you're trying to satisfy somebody else. Everybody else. It's not about everybody else anymore. It's about you. And that's really good, because that's more the Queen of Wands stance. She ain't playing around. It was just 26-26. That's 2 8s. Okay? It's like, you have to be strong. You must be strong. And know that you are stable and that you are safe, you are loved, and you are protected on this journey. And I also see with Jupiter in your 2nd house, if you took the time while Jupiter was in your 1st house to learn a new skill, to try to work out where it is that you were kind of naturally drawn to and having faith in that, then you're probably in a pretty good position. Okay? I just split the deck to her again. This is a big deal. I also see wherever Aquarius is in your chart, that would be helpful to look into. 9 of discs again. You're going to be gaining so much clarity about that, so much faith in wanting to expose yourself, open yourself, share that beautiful, independent, all those Venusian, Libra qualities that are amazing, and harnessing them so that they can bring you where you want to go, and that's all about the internal. Okay? Nothing is perfect, Libra. Not even you. Again, no one expects you to be perfect except for you. And even though you may have those expectations for yourself, it puts you in a corner. When you expect the world to be perfect as an adult, it's like putting your inner child in the corner. Because your inner child's like, well, let's try this. And you're like, no, go sit down. Like, that's no fun. You know? That's no fun. It's springtime. Have fun. What do you want to make? What do you want to create? What do you want to learn about? You want to learn about your fear? Well, face it. Because I see that, yes, we all have work to do, But the more that we keep chipping at it, the more beautiful it can become. Think about Michelangelo's David. I don't know if you've ever seen it in real life, but it's enormous and stunning. And to begin with, it was just a piece of marble that was like fell over in some old abandoned churchyard that no one was using, or the grass was growing over it, whatever. And then he turned it into that, but he had to like decide that he wanted, well, he had to come up with the idea, right? Then he had to find the person who owned, you know, who was the proprietor of this. And then they went and talked to him. Then they proposed their idea, and then they agreed. And then even after that, you had to put in all the work to be able to carve this out, make it what you want it to be. And I see that you've already done a lot of those parts of it, you know? And so give yourself credit for all you've gone through. Jeez Louise. You know? Have faith. Have faith that where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be on the path. And the more you trust yourself, the more you'll trust other people. Okay? Because that unconscious inner child, scared, whatever, like won't be so scared anymore. Because it knows that you won't leave it. Okay? It's important to talk to your inner child. I know that might sound wild to some of you, but it's really, really important. It'll help. So that you can progress into her. Okay? Get out of your head and start finally putting forth the action. And believe in your decision and not, you know, have faith that, again, wherever it is that you are, that is where you're supposed to be. There really are no wrong roads. And you're never really lost, you know? The strong emphasis, too, to focus in on your own feelings versus trying to fill emotional gaps with other people. Okay, when you try to fill emotional gaps with other people instead of, like, doing that for yourself, well, that's a losing battle. Okay? You're gonna change. You're changing that mentality. Okay? You have to have more faith that where you are is where you're supposed to be. Okay? You have to keep that faith. Okay? Keep that faith. Keep that faith to where you are is where you're supposed to be. Please. Okay? Please. Love you. Happy new moon in Taurus, by the way, on the 15th. Good time for new things. Peace out.